Today's video was selected for you by my gorgeous patrons, so thank you very much to them for making this selection. And if you would like to be involved in future video polls and also have access to the Discord, the one card riff video every month and other privileges as well, check out the tiers. I will leave all the information down below. Repeat after me. I give myself credit for all that I am learning to unlearn. I am dedicated to my path of healing even when it is not easy. Even when my progress is slow, it is a testament to who I am as a person. My fortitude astounds and inspires me. I honour the bravery it took to bring myself to this point. My growth is beautiful and non-negotiable. I will not feel ashamed of who I was before I knew who I could be. Simple acts of self-love can refuel me for the journey forward. I gift myself the simple things that bring light. I feel gratitude for what I already have in my possession. The tools and mindsets that I already own are precious and powerful. Today, I will choose which step to take next, and I will commit to it. Self-love and self-care will accompany me along the way. I am consistently open to guidance from divinity. I am a receptacle for spirit to enter and fill me with necessary wisdom. I am open to illumination. The possibility of illumination exists inside each unfolding moment. Hey dandelions, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you enjoyed those affirmations. They're some of my personal words of power that I've been working with lately to help me with healing, self-soothing, just even obtaining a little bit of stability in the madness of the unfolding moment during this uniquely difficult time in my personal journey. So hopefully they spark some inspiration for you as well. I wanted to talk a little bit today about mindsets and perspectives that have kind of gotten me through difficult times in the past, and I think are definitely getting me through this really tough time as well for me. Just in the interest of, again, sparking inspiration for any of you that might need it, who feel like you're stuck, maybe you've gone off track with your commitment to self-love. Maybe we can bring you back onto the path a little bit through some of the ideas in this video as well. I try to be observant in relation to what has helped me. You know, I try to pay attention to whatever mindset shifts I return to that have a positive effect. And I guess one of my missions, one of the things that feels really good for me, is to pay that stuff forward, which is part of the reason that the channel started in the first place. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and this video is just part of that. So, okay, in my observations about my own journey in terms of like what has helped me, you know, what kinds of things lift me up, what kinds of things elevate me to a different perspective. One thing that I've really noticed that I've developed over the course of time, it's definitely a skill, and I've definitely honed it more over the course of time. I've noticed that even if I can't envision a time in the future when things will be okay again, or I will feel more positive, you know, even if I can't envision any brightness, any light at the end of the tunnel, I have trained myself to believe in the possibility that it's there. You know, even if I can't really do any scripting around it, you know, I can't write out this beautiful future. I can't, you know, really taste it. It's not tangible to me. It doesn't feel realistic to me when I try to think about the nuts and bolts of it. I just try to create this humble openness to possibility. And a lot of the time, I can't do spellcraft or ritual that is in any way related to what I'm going to do or what I'm going to feel that is going to be good. Because I'm just in a headspace, especially at the moment, in the depths of bereavement, of course, I'm in a headspace where that is too much to ask of myself. But what I can do, and what I think I've tried to do for the longest time when I've experienced really dark depressions, really difficult things happening, I've tried to just humbly accept that there are a plethora of possibilities, that I can't possibly know them all, and I cannot possibly have access to them and visualize them right now, you know, in whatever dark moment I'm going through. I try to be open to the possibility that things could get better, that I could grow stronger, that I will have an understanding of something that right now looks like a big old tangled mess of shit that I cannot possibly decipher, you know. I like to just humble myself in the face of what I don't understand, and to know that it's okay that that understanding is evading me right now. It's okay. I think that ritual and spellcraft, you know, they've been such a big part of my life for so long. They often do feel very productive. They feel as though they are in the service of momentum. Spellcraft obviously is in the service of momentum, right? We're shooting for something. We are instigating change through will. Ritual also is often very emotive, very inspiring. We often feel differently afterwards. So there is that feeling as well of ritual being in the interests of being progressive, you know, moving towards something, whether that's release, acceptance, understanding. But I think within that type of work, there can be a shadow, which is the pressure to bring something to understanding or bring something to a close. I think I've realised in the last few years, very much more so, that ritual can be in the service of just being where I am, and that being okay, even if it is frustrating, even if I would rather be elsewhere, even if I would rather understand more, I would rather be able to do more, I would rather be able to make moves that I just don't feel like I can make. A lot of my ritual lately is around accepting that I am where I am in this moment, and that although I am open to change and understanding and strengthening, it just doesn't feel anywhere near me right now. But I'm open to it, you know, and that means making myself a cheer channel. Take that, reverse it, making myself a clear channel for spirit to come in, you know, with the messages, the signs, the synchronicities, the comforting sort of elixir of divinity around me, the dreams, the astral experiences, like just saying that I'm open to that, not calling it in, not vehemently believing that it's going to come to me, but just saying I am what I am in the crisis that I'm in, and I'm open to anything that is for my highest good. I'm open to learn. I'm open to a different experience. I'm open to joy. I'm open to deep comprehension of what is evading me right now. But the fact that it's evading me right now also has to be okay. You know, I don't necessarily have to be shooting for anything. It's just an acknowledgement and a calm acceptance of the fact that everything is currently foobar. And I don't think I was giving myself enough of that in my younger years in the craft and in spirituality. I don't think I was, but I definitely give it to myself a lot more now. Sometimes with something really shitty that has happened, or that I've felt, or that I recognize as a shadow in my psyche, with a piece of content like that, I can see no way of integrating it, you know? And I would ask you to consider a time like that for you, or maybe you are going through a time like this now where there is such a difficult, fractious, dark piece of content, and you can see no way of integrating that. And what I mean by that is you see no way of deriving any understanding from it. You don't think you can grow from it. You don't understand what the lessons are supposed to be in it. You don't understand what you can take from it. You don't really want to acknowledge it fully. You know, your ego is in resistance to it. Your sense of what it means to be in this reality does not really fit that dark piece into the equation. It's knotted, it's sharp, it's thorny, it's glassy. It's not nice. And obviously, as a shadow worker and as a massive proponent of shadow work in self-development, I am very prone to taking a very progressive, momentum-oriented view on a dark, yucky piece of thing. I look at it and I'm like, let's bring that out into the light, let's examine, let's integrate, let's understand. And what's come to me, particularly in the last few years, and definitely this year, since the death of my brother in particular, is just really sitting with the discomfort of that piece being there and recognizing that I have no way of integrating that. There is no way right now. And so a lot of the ritual that I do now and a lot of the contemplation that I do now is more on being open to the notion that I will one day integrate it. But it feels like a long way away. It feels like I have no tools to do that. And it's about that being okay, which is very hard, but like it's becoming something more normal for me, is just to know that I can only be in this moment. And it really takes for you to engage with the fixer archetype inside yourself, or the savior archetype, you know, or even the nurse archetype, you know, that part of you that is very much about wanting to create positive change, wanting to heal, wanting to take the broken pieces and fuse them together again, wanting to be effectual in a way that is beneficial to yourself and others. And you have to sort of interface with that archetype and say, it's okay that you feel like you can't do your job right now. Part of your job is to just let things be where they are. It's not always about positive momentum forward into the answer. Sometimes that just can't be. And that's part of what it takes to be a healer as well. That's part of what it takes to show up in your capacity as someone who wants to fix, who wants to solve. Sometimes part of that role is to say, it is what it is right now. It's utterly broken and it's going to stay broken. And we're not ready to start picking up the pieces and understanding or reformulating or sweeping up or whatever it is we wish we could be doing. Now is not the moment for that, and that's okay. I'm not saying that it's about deciding that I'm going to be forever stuck, but it is about recognizing that that's part of the process. Being able to do ritual or to write and speak words of power that are about the possibility that I will experience joy again, or I will know understanding again. That is much more healing for me right now than pushing for positive experiences, pushing for that deep understanding, trying actively to go there, you know, and saying to myself, right, I'm going there. I'm going to that next place where I'm integrating, I'm accepting, I'm healing, I'm actively moving towards something that's better. You know, it's for me, it's been so healing to just say, I'm not able to take certain steps yet. I'm not even able to conceive of it yet. You know, that's how the brokenness is working for me in this area. And instead, it's just about humbling myself to all possibility and saying, I acknowledge that there is that possibility. I acknowledge that over the timeline of my life, there have been many moments where I truly believed that there was no possibility and nothing would ever change. And indeed, lo and behold, there were possibilities and things did change. So I'm open to the fact that that will happen again, but I'm not pushing for it. I'm not shooting for it. I don't have a grand plan. I'm not working spellcraft to move towards any particular thing. I am where I am, and where I am is sometimes feels unbearable. Sometimes it's kind of like this hanged man restlessness, knowing that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but really sometimes wishing I could be somewhere else, doing something else, moving on to the next stage. And sometimes at certain points it feels unbearable, intolerable, desperately unfair and unjust, maddening, in fact, maddening. But I'm really proud of myself in a way. I'm proud of myself for understanding that there is no spell that I can put my energy into that is going to get me out of this in a way that's still going to have allowed me to accept it for what it is. In other words, trying to move in any direction towards positivity right now, towards movement to the next phase, is a form of avoidance. Like, you don't always have to be pushing for momentum to the next thing, pushing for understanding, pushing to get out of what you're in. Sometimes you just have to be in it. And a lot of my ritual has just been about confirming that I am where I am, that I have no plans necessarily for action aside from just the next moment, just the next hour, just like the next small self-loving act, like going to the gym or having a shower and washing my hair, being on time for my client, having meditated beforehand, gotten into the zone, just little things like that. Beyond that, there is no like grand plan. And I've done a lot of grand planning in my life. I have loved planning for my self-development and my healing, and just doing big shadow work sessions or going on pilgrimages. I know that I shared with you one of my pilgrimages last year, my pilgrimage to Walsingham in December for my birthday. These kinds of things. Like, I have done some really big grand planning, and I've visualized my future, and I've done loads of scripting and, just loads of stuff like that, loads of spellcraft to get things moving positively, to have these like tangible improvements on my reality. It's okay if there's nothing like that in the pipeline right now. If it's just like, hey, if I can do the next 24 hours, if I can do the next 12 hours, if I can do these last few hours till I go to bed tonight, then good on me. There is nothing more long term than that. And being really accepting of that has been very healing, taken a lot of pressure off of me. The pressure that comes from feeling like I don't really know what needs to happen next, and I can't conceive of anything that would happen next that would have a really alchemical effect. I just can't conceive of it. Knowing that is where I am, and that's okay, and that I'm actually going to do ritual around honouring that is very helpful. So I guess what I'm trying to say, if I was going to offer a takeaway on that thought process that I've been having, is that if you know that you are pushing yourself to integrate something, accept or understand, forgive or release, take the next actions that will take you to the next phase of your life, but you haven't really been fully acknowledging just the discomfort of this current moment and the fact that you sometimes don't know what to do for your betterment necessarily. Sometimes inspiration on that score evades you, and it's just about bearing the moment, breathing through the moment. If you know that you've been, doing the sort of call, the urge towards momentum without the this is the moment, then I guess you do some this is the moment, if that's what you feel like you need to do. For me, it's been helpful because I love planning how things are going to be better and moving always towards that next plateau. But I guess the way that I can explain it right now is that in some ways I'm looking up at a plateau that I have no business reaching, and I don't know how I would reach. But honestly, I can't even see the next plateau right now. And it's okay. It's okay. I love that I've given that to myself. That, the rest of the mountain is not even there right now. And that's fine. And I guess I'm so much prouder of myself for the little things, that nothing is trivial in this life, but like the little things that I do. Because I'm not pressurizing myself with, okay, but then I've got to get up to that next plateau. It's like, no, all the plateaus are on pause right now, baby cakes, okay? It's just about staying sturdy in the moment, just being with it and being with myself, trying not to avoid accepting that a lot else evades me other than just this, and being okay with that. One thing that I really enjoy that I think is very self-loving for me personally is to let myself start things with not really that much notion of finishing them, and not really being overly committed to a specific ending for them, and not really being committed to a timeline. I think that's something that's really difficult for most people to achieve, definitely. I think that the way that things are set up, the way that like society and economy, etc., is set up, we're sort of we're very pushed into productivity with a clear aim that has a point, that makes money if possible, and very much kind of like, I don't know, everything has this sort of like hustle undertone to it, and I think it's really hard for people to just sketch or just put little shards of poems together and play with them and not really worry about whether or not there's going to be an outcome, just enjoy the exercise itself. I think that can be really difficult, and I talk to my clients about that sometimes, about how it can be possible to just play and to just mess around with paint swatches, or just have a page in a sketchbook and spend an hour or so just like doing random things on it, not even trying to get to something necessarily, just playing, experimenting, with this open curiosity that sets you back from your egoic drive to produce something that you can say you produced. I think that's something that for me has been so self-loving recently. In my journal, I recently wrote these words: I have adopted a sacred curiosity about what something will turn out to be eventually, rather than sitting in a strong sense of responsibility for making it something right now. It's a very verbose sentence, but essentially, you know what I'm saying there, right? Like, I have let myself just try something or experiment with something or not even know what I am doing, and accepting that like this could turn out to be something. It might not turn out to be something. It might be complete in its half-finished, weird, abstract, random, scattered state. That might be the completion that it's supposed to have. Who am I to say? Who am I to always be gripping hold of the creative wheel all the time on everything? Yeah, I think some of the things I've realised about this particular mindset probably go beyond my ability to explain it with language, because I think a lot of it happens in the moment where you let go. I know I reference Fight Club quite a lot, guys, but like, look, 90s films, absolutely my bag. Fight Club is just an amazing film. I really love that scene in Fight Club where Tyler Durden is trying to like, convince him to let go of the wheel. And he says, stop trying to control everything all the time and just let go. Let go. I hear that voice in my head when I am trying to control something, and I'm trying to give my ego its cookies in some way. Even if I wasn't planning on showing it to anyone, even if it's not supposed to have a public audience, it's for me to know that like I didn't waste the time, I have to know that I didn't waste the time. And I try to laugh at myself about that a little bit. Don't get me wrong, there are projects that I have pursued in my life that absolutely are supposed to have an endpoint and deadlines, and there's an aim, and I'm not against that. I mean, I just wrote a book, so I'm not against that. I'm writing another one right now at the time of filming. I like the feeling of challenging myself to do something fully formed, and that has a point to it, and that I birth into the world. Like, I do love that. But I think especially people that do love that or do admire other people doing that at any given time, those people struggle to just believe that they're allowed to play. And it's just so self-loving to fucking play. Just play. Just let go of any feeling of responsibility you have to make it more than that. It's so good for mental health. It's so good for emotional well-being. It's so, so, so good. I don't ever want to live a reality again where I'm denying myself that. I'm just not interested in that. Play is essential. Actually, I'm a huge fan of Deftones. And in their track Hexagram For any of you that love Deftones, you will know that the chorus is just Chino saying worship, play, play, worship, play, worship, play, play. And I love that track. I love that track for many reasons, but I love that chorus because that's all I do. Worship and play. That's my life. I've thought about getting a tattoo of those 2 words. So yeah, I think there's a lot of worship in play. And there should be a lot of play in worship if you really want to take it to the next level. If you want to take worship to the ultimate level, make it playful. Don't make it so solemn and serious all the time, darling. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I'm having great fun just tinkering. I love a tinker, you know. I think when I first came back to writing poetry in 2020, that was big for me because I've written poetry all through my life, you know. I probably did my first poetic composition when I was like 7 or 8 or something like that. Like, I've always loved writing poetry. I've always loved reading poetry. Poetry for me is a really special space in my life where the lights are always on and I'm always home. Poetry is probably what I read most of all. I try and read a poem every day. It's like a form of meditation. I try to always read a poem aloud every day. And if I don't, then when I do get back to reading poetry, I read like 5 or 6 to make up for it. I just adore poetry. And when I came back to it in 2020, I felt so much piss and vinegar. Oh my God, I was like Knight of Swords, you know? And it felt so good, but it was also definitely pressurizing. I pressurized myself. I was like, right, this is it now. I am back in the saddle and this is going to be everything. I'm going to really commit to that. And I think it's been so nice to, and don't get me wrong as well, I came back to poetry during lockdown. So things were very intense. We had no idea when things were going to end. I was in a foreign country and I did not know when I was going to get back home. I had friends in the UK that I was very worried about who were losing money, losing their mind, you know, losing businesses, losing family members. It was frightening. And so, you know, there was a lot going on. My mental health was not great even before the pandemic. I was going through something. I'd been going through something until about mid 2019 onwards, and it had just kind of snowballed, and I was trying to sort of recover. And I will definitely talk about that, you know, in the future as we go along. I've got loads of things to say about so much. Barely even begun, darlings, with this video making malarkey. I feel like I'm only just getting started. So yeah, you know, I was very intense, probably because there was a lot less that I could be doing. It was lockdown. So I came to it in a very intense way. But it's been really nice now to just like tinker and not necessarily be working on a poem so much as just playing with words, just enjoying the many, many, many countless interactions that words can have between each other and being like, that's quite sumptuous. That's kind of juicy. I like that. Maybe if I change it round, what if I swap it, you know? And that being the whole thing that I did for a writing session, that's it, you know? And I was about to say nothing came of it, but we'll put that in quotation marks. Nothing came of it, because who the fuck's to say nothing came of it? Everything is nurturing and feeding the roots that are going deeper. So when I have a play session with writing and nothing really comes of it, I have watered the roots. The next poem that comes out of me, whenever that's going to be an infinitely stronger piece that I'm going to get so much joy out of because I let myself just have those times where I was just playing, you know, and not even worrying about it, just having some goddamn enjoyment that isn't linked to finishing something, impressing someone, or making some money. There's a tiny, tiny fly in this room, and it really wants to have a cameo in this video. It's a tiny fly, so I don't know how much you can see it, but it loves my face. So come on get in the video again, loser. The next thing I'm going to say is going to sound so weird for someone that's got so many videos online where I just literally talk about what I think for the most part. But I want to say that one self-loving thing that's getting me through this insanely difficult time is that I'm really interested in what I think. At least one person is going to be like, narcissistic fuckwit. But seriously, I cannot recommend enough just the very it's sort of strong nurturing that can come from going on a date with yourself. You don't have to leave the house if you can't leave the house for whatever reason. We can always have like a date with ourselves at home where we just, have something nice to eat, whether it's ordering takeout, cooking ourselves something beautiful, having a movie night at home with ourselves, just sort of like laying a blanket out on the floor and just doing some cards, just maybe doing some prayer or some chanting, whatever it might be, but just having this plan of this pocket of time that is just for you, where you explore your thoughts and feelings about stuff. You ask yourself what is going on inside of you, what you think, what you want, what you fear, and just be interested. Ask yourself questions like you would when you go on a date with someone. When you go on a date with someone, you say, hopefully you don't say, tell me about yourself, because that is way too broad, okay? And it's not an interesting enough question. Why has this turned into dating tips? But, basically, you ask the person that you're on a date with questions about what they think about things, where they've been, what they've done, what they might be planning on doing, just do that to yourself. Do that with yourself. One of the things that I find that I did find most challenging when I was first going into my self-love journey, and which I now find to be extremely easy, but it's only as the result of lots of kind of training myself, was I found it really hard to just go around an art gallery on my own. I'm using an art gallery as an example because this is something I love doing. Go around on my own, stand in front of a painting, and just really be interested in what response I'm having to it. Without having anyone to interact with. And I've never been someone that fears being on their own. I've never been someone who needs people around, to feel like I'm having a good time or I'm calm or whatever. That's never been my particular issue. But I don't think all time alone is really true, quality time in solitude. There's a difference. You can be on your own and be completely ignoring yourself. You can be on your own and be really resentful of the fact that you're with you. If that makes sense. So even though I've never had a problem being away from others, I've never needed others around for a sense of safety or whatever, I don't think my time alone, was of quality before I started to really go on this self-love journey 10 years ago or so. 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I think, something like that, I would say. I really began to be right, self-love, what's that all about? Let's open that can of cosmic worms. I think that, when I started going on that journey, I was like, okay, let's go somewhere on my own, and without taking a photo of anything on my phone and sending it to anyone and saying, what do you think of this? Or I just saw this, without putting anything on social media, anything like that. Why don't I just go somewhere and kick it with my goddamn self and ask myself, what do you think of this? Is this making you feel anything? Would you like to go and sit down and have a coffee? Do you want to stay here until sunset, or do you want to get the train home? Would you like to sit down on this grass and partake of a cold beverage and just people watch, and just ask myself what I want, or questions about what I feel about something, and be interested in the answers and be intrigued and be surprised as well. The more you start asking yourself, do you like this painting? Do you think this is a good sculpture? How are you feeling about walking across this particular bridge in London? What is making you curious about this shop? What are you going towards? Why are you going towards that thing? When you start doing that, it's you can surprise yourself. You can be like, oh, I never thought that I felt that way about that, or I never realized that kind of thing bothered me. And I feel exhilarated when I learn things about people I love. I'm just really interested. When I love or care for someone, I'm really intrigued. And I don't even need to feel deep love to be intrigued. I've been so intrigued by people I only just met at house parties. I've been so intrigued by strangers that I'm just people watching, not in a creepy way, but I might just be sat in the window and I'll just look at someone walking past and I'll think, what's their story? They seem interesting. I'm massively intrigued by my clients, massively intrigued by my audience members, by my patrons. Honestly, I've learned so much from so many people who interact with my work and relate to my work. They've affirmed me, they've challenged me, their stories are incredible, they're witty, they've been through ridiculously painful things, some of which I can't even bear to imagine, and come back brighter, and I'm intrigued. But what was missing for me, I think, for a long time was I wasn't really intrigued by myself. I wasn't interested. But actually, I realised that I am interesting and I am interested. And it's really strengthened the time that I spend alone. The time that I spend alone now is time I'm spending with myself. I'm not alone. I'm with myself, you know? The time that I spend in solitude is of a very high caliber now. I would fully recommend having a date with yourself if you haven't for a while. It's great. It's great to have that in the calendar. It's lovely to have things in the calendar to do with like friends or a partner or a group that you're with or whatever, online or in the physical realm, whatever it might be. It's really great to have things booked in that are with someone, but it is also really lovely to just, have some of your solitude be of really high quality. Plan something that is for you, that is delicious. And if you're listening to this thinking, well, I don't feel like I even deserve that. I don't have that kind of relationship with myself. Honestly, like, just do it because you're going to die one day. So why not? I was just talking to a client about this yesterday, about how death perspective can be incredibly helpful when we're in our own way, we're doing something because we don't feel like we deserve it. We don't feel like it's a good use of time. We feel silly about it, whatever it might be. The motivation to do something really positive for yourself can sometimes be hindered by those kinds of concerns. And to that I say, do it because one day you won't be able to do it. Just do it on the basis that one day you're going to be fertilizing daffodils. And so, there is the death creates like a sacred urgency. I've always thought that. I've always meditated on death since I was in my young teens, maybe even before. I never had the intellectual grasp on why that seems so important to me, that I do now. But I knew that something about it was very motivating, very emotive. And it's because it creates urgency. Just do it because maybe if you were lying on your deathbed now, you'd regret not doing it. Just do it for that reason alone, I'm not asking you to fixate on your own demise by any means, but I am saying that there can be something really fruitful there, I think, for a lot of people. I give myself massive credit lately, for still being enchanted by the mundane things, the everyday things that don't seemingly have anything remarkable or rare about them. They just keep happening. They happen all over the place. They're very commonplace to see or to hear about. I'm really, really fucking proud of myself that I can still glean so much inspiration from those things. I've always liked that about me for as long as I've been able to like things about me. That I see the majesty in the mundane, that I don't make distinction between the magical and the mundane. I only literally use the word mundane to express that, like, it's commonplace, it's normal, it's everyday, it's the opposite of what you would consider to be a rare or sort of like hyper real experience. It's just a very real experience, very sort of like mud and wellies, just run of the mill. I love myself for still recognizing that divinity is everywhere, even in the most seemingly trivial things. I just really, I really think that one of the bravest and most impressive things that a human being does is to honour the small things, even in the most difficult of circumstances. And when I see someone do that, when I read about someone doing that, I am humbled in the face of that degree of humanity. I love that. I love that so much. I think it's really potent to be able to do that when you've been terribly mistreated, when you have seen an active war zone. I think it's really impressive to do that when you're racked with mental health issues or with physical issues, ailments, injuries. I think it's really impressive to do that when you feel like your world is spinning out of control, when you've lost someone that you loved so dearly that you would have given your life for them and they've died before you. I think that it's so fucking powerful and awesome to be able to just enjoy a simple sunset, just be happy, like in that moment that a dog has come to say hello to you in the park. Just read something on the page and just let it take your breath away a little bit, and just be in that greatness of the unfolding moment too. I think that's so powerful. I'm so proud of myself for still being able to do that. At this point, I think it's become a serious personality trait, but it's, again, something I trained myself to do. It's something that it is extremely hard to do. It's something that I insist upon doing, even when I fucking really don't think I can. Taking the time to acknowledge what is seemingly mundane is a huge, huge way of showing up for yourself. The other day I posted something to my Instagram stories. It was a Spotify link to Bambi by Prince, which is a banging track. I fully suggest it if you haven't heard it. And I wrote, today I conclude that I'm completely brokenhearted, but at least I'm brokenhearted and listening to Prince, which is a significant upgrade. That's kind of the thing I mean about being able to just acknowledge where you are, not be trying to get anywhere else, but, you know, like upgrading the experience in some way. Even if it feels, in the face of everything you're going through, like a minuscule thing. It's something that's so easy to obtain. My favourite quote for a really long time, and it doesn't make that much sense anymore because you don't need to, well, you know, when I say the quote, it will become clear why it's not really relevant anymore as much. But I read a quote when I was in my early 20s by William F. Buckley Jr. I fucking love this quote. Life can't be all bad when you can buy all of Beethoven's sonatas for $10 and listen to them for 10 years. I read that quote and I was like, that speaks to a piece of me that I'm still trying to learn. You know, this is how I felt in my mid-20s, early 20s when I read it, whenever it was. It was a long time ago. Well, it's not that long ago, but you know. I read that quote and I thought, that's basically what I'm trying to get to every day. That, like, I can have these simple, everyday things that do not take a lot of time, energy, money to obtain. I don't need to move country to obtain them. I don't need anything significant to have changed in my external circumstances to obtain them. But I can obtain them very easily. They are within my grasp right now, and they significantly upgrade the nature of the experience I'm having. You know, that is just, to me, a really beautiful mindset that is life-saving, that is riveting, that can be the difference between a really, really difficult mental health day and, you know, trying to not be here anymore. You know, it's really about like those wondrous jewels in the experience that other people walk by and overlook because, you know, it's just a bottle top catching the sun, but actually it's a diamond. It's a diamond in the experience of this thing. You know, it's going into the room other people walk past because it's just a broom cupboard and recognizing that it's actually like the entrance to Narnia. It's looking at something and recognizing that it's made up of all of these like vibrating atoms. It's looking at something that you own and thinking about its entire fucking journey towards getting to you. It's recognizing the aliveness of everything. It's feeling divinity dance on all surfaces. Yeah, it's knowing that you don't have to take a hallucinogenic drug to experience that sense of truly valuing what is happening here. And it's just so small, some of the things that can take you to that place. If you just rest your attention upon those things and say, this is miraculous. You know, I do it all the time when I drink water. That's probably the biggest way that I access that valuing of something that seems commonplace, because it's not commonplace to be able to access clean, free water. I mean, my water is not free. I pay for my water, right? I pay for my water bill, but you know what I mean? Like when I go to the gym and I put ice cold water in my water bottle at the fountain in the gym, right? The fountain in the gym. I always walk away and go into the gym and think, I just poured myself a bottle of ice cold water. Like that's not even run of the mill. Just because it is for me doesn't mean I should ever like stop reminding myself that it's actually not normal to be able to do that. And that's a fucking travesty. And the very, very least I can do on any given day is to recognise that disparity and to recognise that in a sick and twisted enough way, I am in the section of people that don't necessarily need to worry about that right now. And that on its own is like huge. It's a huge thing that I don't have to place my attention on, that doesn't take up that mental space. You know, there's just, lately I've been looking at my possessions. I've been really trying to rethink my relationship with things, and really try to put my attention on what I've got already. It's kind of like a leftover from the depth year that I did in 2019. And if you're interested in more about my depth year experiences, I did make videos kind of charting my feelings on the depth year that I did. I'll leave that playlist down below. I'm definitely considering another depth year for 2023. So if you want to do that with me, let's gear up for that together. I will think more about that as I go along in the year, but the depth year was really about using what you have instead of acquiring more, and going deeper into your interests rather than broadening your interests, you know. So instead of trying to find new things to try and be interested in and buy things for and all that, instead deepening into what you're already interested in, spending more time and energy on that, and using the resources that are already at your disposal. So it's kind of a leftover from that experience coming now to 2022, where I'm really thinking about, you know, the depth and the meaning of the relationship I have with things, and taking more time to value them and putting them into use more. And I think that's part of wanting to ensure that I'm not overlooking the wealth, the absolute feast of things that I have. Not trying to shoot for the next thing that I want or that I've been convinced that I need, but just really, really loving, taking the time to really love the things that are accompanying me on the journey right now, making things easier for me, making things more colourful for me, whatever it might be. These are just a few thoughts anyway, darlings. I would love to know what kinds of mindsets help you with self-love or healing. I would love to know if there's anything from this video that resonated with you and why that might be. I want to thank you for taking this time to sit with me and go through these thoughts. And I will see you again for another video. Of course, much love and blessed be. Stay rebellious, keep it wild, keep it fizzy. Mwah.